Imagine you're a scientist, not looking for gold or glory, but for the ghosts hiding in the dirt. You're standing in Spain, staring at a boulder that hasn't moved in 3,000 years. Months of digging, dirt, rocks, and endless pottery shards. Your brain starts playing tricks. You see the ghost of a perfect vase that just isn't there. But then, your trowel hits something hollow, an antler bone tube, sealed, preserved, 3,000 years buried in the dark. You open it. Inside, human hair, perfectly preserved. You rush it to the lab, praying the molecules haven't degraded. The analysis hits your desk, and your jaw hits the floor. This wasn't just hair. It was a chemical receipt. Traces of psychoactive compounds, locked in the strands of a man who died 30 centuries ago. This wasn't a random user. This was a Bronze Age shaman, sitting in a giant cauldron, holding a ritual axe. He wasn't cooking dinner. He was trying to cook a connection to the spirit world. But 3,000 years is recent in the grand scheme. Today, we're proposing something that will make academics spit out their coffee. The borderline insane theory. The idea that humanity's greatest evolutionary leap didn't happen because of fire or language, but because we got high. A theory so controversial, most scientists won't touch it. Yet, when you look at the graph of human consciousness, the spike lines up perfectly. Let's jump down the rabbit hole. The evidence is everywhere. In Siberia, reindeer seek out the fly agaric mushroom, a red cap hallucinogen. The herders watched them stumble into trances. The caveman thought, that looks fun. In Africa, elephants get drunk on fermenting marula fruit. Your house cat gets high on catnip. It's called zoopharmacognosy, animals self-medicating. But the real troublemakers? Tasmanian wallabies. They break into poppy fields, eat the opium, and hop in wild circles, creating crop circles. Meanwhile, jaguars in the Amazon chew on yage vines to heighten their senses. And my personal favorite? Dolphins. They carefully chew pufferfish, passing it around like a shared joint. They float belly up, staring at the sun, absolutely zonked. Researcher Ronald Siegel argued that the desire to alter consciousness is a fourth drive as natural as hunger, thirst, and reproduction. We are hardwired for intoxication. So, 50,000 years ago, early humans weren't stumbling upon drugs. They were hunting for them. But physical evidence rots. Unlike a spear, a plant turns to dust. That's why the Spanish hair is a miracle. We are seeing the tip of the iceberg. But what lies beneath is the story of how drugs built human civilization. In Asia, 4,600 years ago, a shaman was buried with a massive stash of cannabis. The bowl was burning as they tried to speak to the spirits. The oldest harps and flutes were found right next to it. Music and drugs were born in the same moment. This was a funeral. They believed the drug allowed the soul of the deceased to escape the body. The hair analysis showed a terrifying cocktail: ephedrine for stimulation, atropine for delirium, and scopolamine, the devil's breath, which erases memory and makes you see ghosts. But it wasn't just Spain. In India, the ancient Vedas speak of soma, a divine elixir that brought humans closer to the gods. For centuries, we didn't know what it was. Scholars now believe soma was likely a psychedelic mushroom or a stimulant-rich ephedra brew. It was the centerpiece of Vedic religion, the original Holy Communion. Meanwhile, in the Americas, peyote buttons date back 6,000 years, and mushroom statues carved from stone depict gods eating psychedelic fungi. In the Amazon, the ayahuasca brew requires two specific plants. The vine contains an Maui, and the leaf contains DMT. Combined, they activate. How did they figure this out without chemistry? It's the great mystery of ethnobotany. The theory? The plants guided their evolution. They didn't just find the drugs found them. In Northern Europe, Viking berserkers consumed a mysterious battle flower before combat, likely a hallucinogenic mushroom or henbane, inducing a rage so intense they felt no pain. This wasn't just recreation, it was tactical. Drugs were used to conquer lands, write poetry, and communicate with the dead. From the Sumerians using opium for medicine, to the Egyptians using blue lotus for euphoria, drugs were the universal language of humanity. This brings us to Terence McKenna and the stoned ape hypothesis, the idea that psychedelics didn't just accompany evolution, they caused it. McKenna pointed to the shrinking African forests. Our ancestors moved to the open savanna, where psilocybe mushrooms grew in the dung of grazing animals. At microdoses, psilocybin increases visual acuity. They could see predators from further away, improving their survival rate immediately. At higher doses, it induces empathy and introspection. Tribes that tripped together stayed together. They developed shared language to describe the visions. McKenna argued that language and art were born in these psychedelic states. We needed words to explain the geometric patterns. We needed symbols to draw the gods. Our brains doubled in size over this period. While there are many factors, the role of neurogenesis, brain cell growth triggered by psilocybin, is suspiciously absent from textbooks. Let's get modern for a second. We now know the brain has a default mode network, the ego. It's our sense of self. Psychedelics temporarily turn off the DMN. The ego dissolves. This is the ego death that shamans described. You stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about the collective. This allows the brain to form new neural pathways. It breaks depression, addiction, and anxiety. The Vikings, the shamans, the Greeks, they had no MRI machines, yet they figured this out. Mycologist Paul Stamets calls these mushrooms the mycelial network of human consciousness, connecting us all, just like fungus connects the trees in a forest. The skeptics hate this. They ask for hard evidence. But the evidence is in the cave paintings, the handprints, the geometric spirals. They match the visuals produced by psilocybin. We went from scavenging in the dirt to building cathedrals, stock markets, and rockets. Is it a coincidence that this cognitive leap correlates perfectly with our exposure to these molecules? But let's talk about the drug that really changed the world: alcohol. It's the only drug we consume in massive quantities that we don't consider a drug. In Jiahu, China, we found a 900-year-old fermented rice cocktail. And in Rakfit Cave, Israel, 13,000 years ago, the Natufian people were brewing grain-based beer. Here's the twist. They were grinding grain. But that's hard work. Why did they do it? Recent archaeology suggests it wasn't for bread. It was for beer. This flips the narrative. We thought agriculture was invented out of hunger, but new research says it was invented out of thirst. We didn't farm to eat. We farmed to get drunk. The Sumerians had a goddess of brewing. Cuneiform tablets are basically ancient recipes. Beer was the currency of the ancient world. So, whether it was psilocybin for cosmic connection or alcohol for social bonding, intoxication drove us to build cities. The Greeks took it to the next level. The Eleusinian mysteries were the most sacred rituals of the ancient world, performed for 2,000 years. In 2022, residue analysis on the temple cups confirmed it. The sacred kykeon was laced with ergot, a chemical cousin of LSD. Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates were likely initiates. But this 50-year-old tradition hit a wall. The Roman Empire banned the Eleusinian mysteries. The Christian Church deemed psychedelics pagan magic. In the 15th century, the Spanish Inquisition ruthlessly suppressed the indigenous use of peyote and mushrooms in the Americas. Suddenly, the global knowledge was fractured. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the war on drugs criminalized these ancient tools. We stopped seeing them as medicines and started seeing them as threats. But history has a way of repeating itself. We spent billions of dollars proving what the shamans knew all along. Today, Johns Hopkins, Imperial College, and MAPS are conducting the largest psychedelic trials in history. Psilocybin is proving to be a miracle cure for depression, PTSD, and addiction. We're seeing terminally ill patients lose their fear of death after a single dose. We are seeing veterans heal from trauma. We are connecting the dots. The antler tube in Spain, the soma in India, the ayahuasca in the Amazon, they were all pointing to the same truth, that consciousness is malleable. It took us 50,000 years to circle back. The caveman and the neuroscientist are now shaking hands. We like to think we are sophisticated, but we're doing the exact same thing as the Natufians, just with better branding. From the clay jar to the rocket, from the cave trance to the stock market, the thread is unbroken. The 3,000-year-old hair wasn't just evidence of drug use. It was evidence of intelligence. It showed that humanity has always sought to understand the nature of reality. So, next time you see an artifact in a museum, remember, it's not just history, it's a receipt. And it proves that the oldest human tradition isn't war, or love, or writing. It's the relentless pursuit of getting our minds blown. And that pursuit is what makes us human. Thanks for watching. Now, go think about what you're thinking about. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more deep dives into ancient history. Drop a comment below, what should we cover next? See you in the next video.